What's going on, family? First and foremost, I want to start off by thanking my subscribers, by thanking the people who comment, and my future subscribers. I definitely appreciate it, and I look forward to making more content that you guys can relate to, and hopefully, you guys can get some wisdom and some knowledge. So, I talked about this particular topic a few times in my past videos, but I never really went in depth. So, regarding my biological mom, my grandparents pretty much raised my brother and I would say pretty much since the day we were born all the way a little bit before middle school. We were in elementary school, right? From birth all the way to elementary school. My father lived with my grandparents, and we lived with my grandparents. And so pretty much he had help. He had support. And without going too deep into it, obviously my father and my mother, they married, but it didn't really last long, and it pretty much went to shit, to be frank with you guys. And right, we all lived together initially, right? I was a baby, and my little brother's like a year and a half younger than myself. So we lived together as a family before. And then it, like I said, it just, their relationship went south. And we ended up living with our grandparents, and my father ended up living there also. And pretty much, my mother told my grandmother, I want to live my own life. And at that time, she was a lesbian. Hey, my thing is this. If y'all choose whatever lifestyle you want to choose, cool, as long as you don't push that on me. And so, that was a sidebar, but so anyways, my grandmother said, are you sure you don't want to be in your kid's life? Because later on in the future, you're going to regret that. You're going to regret not having a relationship with your kids. And she said, I'm sure. And so my grandmother took on the mother role, and my grandfather took on a father role, and of course my dad was a dad, right? But he was a young father. He was a young man. He needed help, which I'm extremely grateful for my grandparents. They didn't have to step in, because they already raised their kids, right? They had like 4 kids. They already raised them. And for a grandmother to not only be for a grandmother and grandfather to not only be grandparents, but also be parents to their grandchildren, that's special. That's special, and nowadays, that's few far in between. Most grandparents don't even want to be grandparents, let alone father and mother a grandchild of theirs. So to go back to the story, and of course we were raised in the church, and through the years, at that time when I was young, I didn't want for anything. I had all that support. I had all that family, uncles, aunts, of course my grandparents, and my father. And I believe, just going off my memory, my grandmother and grandfather did all the leg work, I'm quite sure, as a parent. Even from my research, even talking to my grandparents. And they're no longer here, but when they were here, I literally would listen to everything, all their stories, even if they, how older people, they repeat the stories and whatnot. But their stories is deep. It has a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. And so I'd literally, figuratively speaking, be under the table waiting for every piece of crumb, every piece of morsel to fall from the table. And I will consume the knowledge. I will consume the wisdom. And even to this day, even when I was younger, I was always told I'm an old soul. So years went by, my father remarried. Through the years, my biological mother would come around my grandparents' house when we were still living there. But it was few far in between. She would draw with us and kind of hang out with us, stuff like that. And then some more years would go by. And eventually, like I said, my father remarried, and then we moved. And that was like 1990. Either like 1989 or 1990, somewhere in the 89 or 90. And that's when my brother, myself, my father, and my stepmother, we all started to live together. And I remember when I was in high school, I should think about my mom and daydream, right? Because I remember her, but I didn't remember her because I only seen her from the day I was born and all the way to like 89, 90, maybe 5 times. So I didn't remember her that much at that time. And I used to daydream about her and just longing to have some kind of relationship, some kind of a normal relationship. Of course, I had it with my grandmother, but as much as my grandmother did everything she could to make sure that my brother and I had a mother experience, and grandma went over the top. Believe me, over the top. Hugs, love, all the hugs, all the spending time, hanging out with grandma and granddad. And of course it was granddad too. But grandmothers, mothers are nurturers, right? The father and the grandmother is the father and the grandfather, they mold, especially if they're grandsons and sons, they mold and shape in a masculine way, right? But the grandmother, the mother, she's that nurturer, right? She makes sure there's balance. I don't know how to say that. Bottom line is, my grandmother made sure we got that mother, the feminine aspect of a parent, of a nurturer. But nobody could take mama's spot. Nobody can fill her shoes. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Even though my mother never was a mother to me, never was consistent enough to be that mother figure. I never really spent time with her, right? I think it was a good 5 times. To me, that's nothing. That's nothing. And it hurt me. It hurt me. So long story short, I think I was in either 10th or 11th grade. I told my dad, I was like, look, I want to find my mom and I want to get to know her and I want to build with her. And I could tell my dad was reluctant. He knew more about her than I did. And I wanted to find out for myself. Who was this woman? Who was this woman? That's my blood. That's my mother. And I wanted to build. I wanted to be honest with you guys. I wanted to hug her. I wanted to kiss her, obviously on the cheek. I wanted to get her perspective, like on life and what. I don't know. I wanted to get what I was missing. I didn't know exactly what I was missing, but I knew I was missing something. And so I reached out to her, and lo and behold, fast forward everything, shoot, she picked me up. Now my little brother, he didn't want to have nothing to do with her. He wasn't interested. And so whatever narrative we were fed, he bought into it. Now, the narrative was true. It was spot on. But I wanted to find out for myself. And I wanted to be able to say, well, I tried. At least I tried to build a relationship with my mother. I was curious, put it that way. And I remember she had this little, it was a foreign little car. It was like a Rabbit, a vehicle they called a Rabbit back in the day. They don't make them no more. I think it was a Rabbit. I think it was a Volkswagen, but it wasn't. It was like a European small little red car. She picks me up. Now, mind you guys, I don't know her from Shinola. It was kind of scary, but at the same time I was like, what do I have to lose? It's my flesh and blood. Why not? So she picks me up, and her partner's with her, and I get to meet her and whatnot. And I got all my clothes in the car. So I started living with her or them, and I'm sleeping in the living room. It's like a pull-out couch. At the end of the day, I didn't have my own room at my mom and at my dad's house and my stepmom's house. I had my own room. My brother and I we had our own room. I didn't really care at my mother's house if I had my own room. I was just happy to be building and attempting to bond with her. I remember there was one time where they had little hamsters in the living room, right, in a little cage or whatever. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I hope these suckers don't come out, because this is going to be a problem. And lo and behold, one night I woke up and there was a hamster in my bed. I jumped up, yelled, like, get this hamster off me. What the hell is in the bed? And I remember my mom, she came out, her partner, they was cracking up, man. I like to think that I'm a pretty masculine dude, but I was screaming and yelling. I said, hell no, get this hamster, whatever this is, out this bed, please. So my mother and I, we started building, and I remember she was pissed off because I eventually told her all the abuse I was enduring. Psychological, physical abuse, and emotional abuse from my father. And my mom wanted to deal with my dad, but she didn't, right? But it felt good to know that, damn, she gave a damn. And at that time, because I was getting abused so much and I was in special ed, I was reading at like a first grade level. My mom was pissed off about that. Like, what the hell? So she went and bought, I think it was Hooked on Phonics. Now, mind you, in the past, my grandmother bought Hooked on Phonics also. And, and when I was living with my grandparents, I was reading at the level I was supposed to read. I was I was doing good in school, but the minute I left from my grandparents' house to go live with my dad and my stepmother, that's when all hell really started to break loose. And my education started going down and my comprehension, and everything went to shit. So my mom was hurt over that, and she went and bought some tools to help me, which I'll never forget. And that meant something to me, because that showed that she cared. And even then I imagined in my mind, like, damn, what if they stayed together, or what if I lived with her? Where would I have been academically? Where would I have been just in general? What kind of headspace? What kind of peace would I've experienced? What kind of love would I experience? And obviously I never got that from my mother, other than what I got from her at the time. So, she started buying me cross colors, because cross colors was out at that time. And this was obviously in the 90s at the time when I started to live with my mother. And she brought all these cross colors, name brand shoes. I had like 3-4 pairs of different shoes. I had like 10 different outfits, right? Which was totally different from living with my father, right? My father would give us like two pairs of jeans, and they were from Kmart, and they were Wranglers. I hated that. And then it would be like 2 shirts, and then we would have these Pro Wings. I don't know, what I'm saying, if y'all remember them Pro Wings back in the days from Payless. Used to have the 2 straps. Didn't have shoestrings. It had straps. It would go shh, right? When you take your shoe off, it goes shh, right? And I used to get roasted back in high school, And then my dad and my stepmom would give my brother and I $1 a day for lunch. $1 a day. Remember those, what was it, like 6 or 7 crumb donuts or chocolate donuts in a little package? It was a small little donuts. You couldn't even, you couldn't even buy that back in the day. Actually, I think you could. It was for $1. All your money was gone. You had $1, you buy that, money gone. And I would have stuff like that for lunch, because my mom and dad were stingy. My stepmom and my dad was very stingy, and they had money. They had money. But obviously it wasn't any money for the kids. So I'd be walking around in high school with pretty much the same jeans on and the same shirt. And now that I'm grown, I got 40s. And I make sure, my wife and I, we make sure they suited and booted, because I never wanted to have my kids go to school, right? Because no kid want to go to school looking like shit, right? You want to go to school looking nice, feeling good, right? And so we always made sure the kids had nice shoes, had several pairs of shoes, several pairs of outfits, and outfits that they picked, outfits that they like within reason, without getting crump and getting stupid with it. So I was getting spoiled from my mom, and had cross color this, FUBU that. Man, I had Fila shoes, I had Nikes, I had the whole shebang bang. And I remember I went to Long Beach, Jordan, and man, I was fly, dude. But at the end of the day, I realized that, looking back, she probably was trying to buy me, or feeling bad and trying to make up for the lost time. And objects, clothes, money is not going to do it. And I still didn't know this woman. And then I saw she had a temper, and I saw that she had other issues. And I was trying to bond with her, but I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like, I think I only stayed there 6 months. And even like by the third month, I was like, I don't like it here. I don't know her. And it was different. And I wanted to go back to what I knew. So I think and then I ended up hanging out with my uncle. And now me and him, we bonded, man. This is her brother, my uncle. We bonded. He would come through, you know what I'm saying? And we play basketball. We go to Taco Bell. We go eat. Me and my uncle would chop it up. And I remember I would ask him, you know, the relationship between, you know, my mother and my father. And he told me, like, everything was good for a while. And then it just got rocky. It got bad. And without going too much into that, I ended up running away from her house when she was at work, because it was too much. And my grandmother, she lived in Compton, California, right? So, man, I ran from her house, from Long Beach all the way to Compton. And I remember I showed up at my grandma's front door. She was like, "Boy, what you doing here?" I said, "Grandma, I don't like it over there." She's like, "What you mean?" They different. And it didn't work out. And I think my biological mother, she resented me from that time to this very day. Because off and on through the years, I reached out to her, and it was like a hit and miss. It was literally like I was chasing her. Literally like I was chasing her. So I'm gonna continue this, because this video is kind of lengthy, y'all. Maybe I'll make a part 2. This is Mike, keeping it simple and precise.